Hey guys, it's Matt. As usual, I'm sure I will get in a better mood as this video goes on, realizing I'm talking to all of you. We literally live in a Twilight Zone episode. Literally. Go watch the entire series, find the weirdest ones. This is Stranger, and then you'll notice the name of the host, Rod Serling, has changed if you're Mandela affected. This is we never could have believed this is where we would be 2 years ago, and consider the stuff we looked at. Consider what we thought, quote, they were capable of. This is just it is as strange as it seems to you. Okay, it is. To me, I don't recognize, or how to understand the world at all anymore. I don't know what happened. It was always strange, but this is a whole new level. So, I mean, the news will present something, or these themes will come, and I don't watch any news, but I still will be aware. I don't know how I'm aware. Someone will pass me a video or a tweet or something, and it'll say the number, the threshold for herd immunity, herd, like a herd of cattle immunity. Excuse me. This happens when I start talking. The Because of my nose hair clipper appointments have been canceled since this crisis started last March. I shave my own head, but my nose hair specialist is someone I've not been able to see. Um, you see a tweet or something overtakes the media or the news or the social media about the level of quote herd immunity, and then I'll have a family member just like a script parrot it back to me. And I don't really deal with that many people, even in the family, a day or two later. And I'm saying, like I've said before, it's not as simple as them just watching the news and then it is. I'm more of a believer in the download now than I ever was. Someone would say, well, somebody, I'll tell you, in this case, it was my father. And he immediately parodied, he said, well, you're not going to get it? Well, how are we going to, if there's more people like you, we're not going to reach that key threshold of herd. Do we need a hobo code for that? I, I hope not. I guess the worst they could do is a banner ad. So what did they say? Did they say it's 80%? So like that, it's everything. If that number is so accurate, whether assuming, obviously if there's any truth to it at all, but if we get 79 and a half, we're all screwed. They're screwed. But if we get to 80 and a half or 81, oh, we're all safe. That's just 1 point, man. And he's like, you're not gonna get it. Oh, we're not gonna reach the herd number. And then he was like, then he shifted into, I'm so disappointed in you. Like, not quite the, you're not even my son. It didn't go there. It's like, I don't recognize my own son. Didn't go there. But it was the shift of, and he did say, I'm so disappointed. And I was like, where I've, been going, the things I've been looking into, what we've talked about over the last 5 or 7 years. Is this really that surprising? And then I don't know. Did I mention this in the video? If I did, and then he's like, "Well, I guess not. I guess not." So there was another family member. Was it a week or two before? Not about the herd, but about the. This came recently. Some people have emailed me what Joey B, our president Joey B, who again remember got his first acting start as the one of the dueling banjos, the inbred dueling banjo child in Deliverance, when Burt Reynolds and his three friends went on that camping trip. The dueling banjos, the kid with the slit eyes had a little bit of an inbred issue up there in Appalachia, West Virginia, I guess they were. I don't know where they were, but Joe Biden, who again remember he starred in that role, he has now the tweets are, well, it's your choice. You either will get it, you'll either rent the movie, whether it's on sale in the bargain bin or not, or you will continue to just, I guess they just put it out as perpetually, wear your mask. And then another family member was like, oh, you're not You didn't rent the movie? Well, you're gonna have to wear just parrot the same thing out. Parrot it out. Well, you're gonna keep your mask on then. No, I have no intention of doing that. If you don't want to be around me, then don't be around me. So it's more than just, guys, of course, as you know this, more than people just watching the news. It is like 100 monkeys download goes out to these 100 monkeys, or these 100 billion monkeys, or whatever, 100 million monkeys in our general vicinity. Um, it is absolutely incredible. So, in terms of course, we've been over this. Anybody that's going along with this whole thing, there is no, of course, waking anybody up at this point if they're going down the route of believing the news and looking to rent the movie. There's just completely pointless. There's only, I've been thinking, is there anything at all that can be done for somebody that still may have a little glimmer of a real human inside of them, like Pinocchio? It's the reverse Pinocchio effect. In the story Pinocchio, it was like a data android. Pinocchio would long to be, I guess, a real boy. I don't know. I haven't really looked at Pinocchio since I was 5 or so, but I think it became a real boy. Where Q in Star Trek, I think, for at least a short period of time, granted Data an insight into being a real human. Well, this is the reverse Pinocchio effect, where the real boy hardens into, a piece of wood. And if there's a glimmer of hope to getting through to anybody, that before they do the reverse Pinocchio effect, harden into a piece of wood that is forever bound to the 3D material plane, they'll forever be bound to take the download. Looking for anything that you could get through to a little bit of if somebody is real. That's not that if they're going along this path, of course they're going to be giving most of themselves away to the system, whatever that means. We've talked about that in the past. We'll talk about it again. What that means, giving it away. Some people had real issues with my soul token analogy that I came up with about 2 years ago, because I had no other way to explain it. But it seemed very appropriate and apt considering what people are doing. I don't know of any other way to describe it, but people are giving pieces of whatever real was real. They're giving themselves away. And there's only one thing I think you can do with these people, or one place you can go, is say, I want you to remember our past. Now, is this some sort of skeleton key that's going to unlock them, or panacea, or a shallow? You just yell out to Hal, "Shallow Hal wants a gal," and all of a sudden, Hal really sees Rosemary. He really sees the world that was, not just seeing the inner beauty. He just completely ruined Tony Robbins' initial spell by saying "Shallow Hal wants a gal" like a code word. Um, if anybody wants to see Zara, I'll do this. Um, no, I don't think this is that great, but I'm thinking this is all that, if there's a chance, this is all there is. It's somebody presents something, absolute ridiculous way society is going, and I'm just going to do this, maybe for my own satisfaction. I'm just going to say, do you remember our past? That's like a, and then you pause, I would say, to get them, or at least part of their subconscious, remembering the past. Do you remember in the past when people were only fearful of being around somebody when they showed symptoms? Like, if I remember years ago, somebody didn't come to Thanksgiving because they had just gotten the flu and they did have 102-degree fever. And if somebody came in to a family gathering with all sorts of sniffles and coughing, you'd be. And do you remember our past when somebody had to show symptoms? They actually had to be sick. I mean, in other words. And then, do I think this is going to work on most people? No. But this is all I have. It's all we have. It's something that I sense. If anybody still has that little bit of real left in them, they haven't given it all away, it could do something. Um, but maybe you do it for my own self satisfaction. And the way to do it would be to just pause between the two. I want you to remember our past. Pause for a few seconds, and people will be kind of taken aback by that. But maybe a certain part of their subconscious will be paying attention. And you could evolve this into different scenarios. Do you remember when somebody actually had to be sick before you were kind of afraid of them? If somebody came in your presence, remember in the past, if somebody came into your presence and they were perfectly healthy and radiated health, and you wouldn't be afraid of getting sick. Remember? Do you remember that those days? Do you remember the world that once was in that regard? And if anybody shows any sort of signs of being a little bit open to it, again, this is the one out of 100 people you could find that has a little spark left. You could say, yeah, where did this come from? Where everybody's that's completely healthy is diseased. It's just assumed they're carrying disease. That's just completely the opposite of everything we knew. So no, it's not a panacea, but it's pretty much all we have, all I have. And I'm gonna, for nothing, maybe even just for a laugh, just to see, to kind of examine what the scripted response would be, and wait for it to come back. And oh, you're running scripts. I see you're. No, I'm not going to go there. That's just mean, and just causes problem. But inside, I'm going to say, oh, I see you're running those scripts. You can gauge how, on a scale of 1 to 10, how reverse Pinocchioed people are. Oh, you're completely wood. I see there's no thinking, and I'd be thinking this. It's just pointless to say it, and it might even be a little bit mean. Okay, let's revisit the good news basics. The absolute return to the basics is very good news for us. And you have to remind yourself of this all day long, every day, considering the state of the world, because you can move into a depression very, very quickly. From the perspective of being here, inside this little tiny snow globe existence, for a fraction of 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 a fraction, go to infinity. That's how long this life is from a cosmic perspective. From the perspective of being here, it sucks. Okay, it sucks what's happening. It's really bad. Oh no, they're gonna throw 2 classes of citizen. I can't get into NASCAR. Oh no. But guys, from the perspective of everything outside of here, where there's an aspect of you that's not here, that's attached to something else, that's outside the snow globe, outside of this realm of physicality, what's happening is extremely good news. It's good news. I mean, what's more important? I mean, all that has ever been, all that ever will be, or just this little existence. Finding out, let's just return to the basics. In terms of somebody that has a spiritual tether to all that ever was and will be, do you think, if you had to guess, would that be somebody who's running around just waiting for the next instruction from Joe Biden, waiting for the next tweet from their governor on how to seek they've already rented the movie twice, but they want, I need to get a booster, and then I need to shun every family member, and just running around and giving every little piece of their Pinocchio real boy away and trying to become wood. Would they have a better chance of I guess latching on to their spiritual side, or at least not not horcruxing themselves, not going along with the tricks of this place and the minions that spin the tricks, or do they have a better chance of getting out? The movie Get Out, of getting out, escaping here, whatever you believe in, whether you're a Christian or it's the Saturn Moon Matrix, or did they have a better chance of winning, or do we have a better chance of, or have we already won? There's along the spectrum that you can slide it up. Many people will slide it up and say, well, we've already won, which is pretty close to the truth. But I still believe there's things we need to do for ourselves. I don't believe I'm there yet. I think I still have a lot of things I need to work on. I think I can get there, and I think I know what I need to do. I think the path now is clear. But, which group is better off from a cosmic perspective, from a spiritual perspective, from the perspective of all that will be? Well, of course, we're better off. Of course, we see the trick. We see what it's for. We see it wants us to doom ourselves. So we are putting ourselves in a position where even if this reality is a trick, a recycling, a Saturn moon matrix, a samsara, we're putting ourselves in a position to be best able to, walk out of here, as Tony would say. So from this perspective, we are. I mean, you can't. There is no. You can't even put it on a scale. The good. Once you step outside the snow globe and look back at what's going on here, the scale is 100 billion tons on one side of good versus like putting a feather on the other side. There is nothing positive in this, in just that would equate to this existence and how we live our life, that would ever even get close to that, the spiritual realizations and things we're starting to understand about ourselves. So it goes back to the video, would you go back? Of course, almost everyone was like, no, I wouldn't go back. I talked to Greg. He actually said he would go back because he reminded me, like, what? But he reminded me, he's like, Matt, I saw the 7-Eleven. I saw it that afternoon and was telling my coworkers exactly what happened. He goes, I'm already there. I don't, and so I would, in other words, Greg was basically saying, if all you guys have come into this incredible realization about yourselves in the last 14 to 16 months, or the truth work you've done over the last 5 years, you wouldn't give that up. You wouldn't go back, of course. He's like, I want to go back because I was already there. I'm like, I never thought about it that way. But anyway, so but most of us, of course, we wouldn't go back. We wouldn't trade a there is, you can't even compare. You can't even compare. But what's funny is these people that run around this reality and this existence, that they would still, many of them would still call themselves religious. Some would call themselves spiritual. Many that run around this existence, in other words, just trying to get another sports car, just trying to get another Hollywood deal or a beach home or the new promotion or partner at the law firm, or all the stuff that quote matters here. They still, many of them still would call themselves religious or spiritual. But if you truly see that, and it's just I don't know. There is no, the risk reward is so stacked in one side. There is no words to even describe it. So it's incredibly, if this is any sort of a trap, for example, all the the kind of YouTube videos we've seen that are just relatively disturbing about go into the light, don't go into the lights, trap. You'll go into some sort of green room between real death and life, where you'll think you're dead, and they'll ask you to go back into another physical body, and all the stuff we've heard that we're familiar with or becoming more familiar with. If any of that is true, then we are doing what we can to position ourselves to walk. She just tried to bite my hand. What the heck's that all about? Are you reacting to my video? You not like that part? What's that all about? You're gonna bite me? That was weird. She hasn't tried to bite me for a while. I guess I was just, as I was talking, I was probably doing something she doesn't like, but she usually gives me a little bit of warning. It is a tortie or a tortico. And it is a tortico. Tortie by itself is called tortitude, but you combine that with a calico, it's basically the bitchiest cat that has ever lived, which, we had some tough times the first month I got her, as you guys might remember. I put Zara down. She was acting a little funny. I don't really know what was going on with her, but she's been great recently. I'm very happy with Zara. I was saying that if any of these things are true about the worst news that could be associated with this place, recycling trap, Saturn moon matrix, hard to get out, don't go into the light, all the stuff that we've been looking into, at least to some degree or another, or at least been exposed to doing what we do. And to pause and back up, I don't know how much of that could be true or not or real. There's no harm in preparing for it. There's a little bit of harm, I guess, if anybody was screaming at me now saying that, Matt, what you expect to get at death is what you will get. So that's true. That needs to be a factor. There's a lot of smart people, very smart people, that would say you spend your whole life expecting a hardcore trap, and that will be hard to pass, and you'll be recycled back into a body. You expect that, you will bring that upon yourself. That so there is a you have to we have to be careful of that aspect too. But there's nothing wrong with being at least ready to take on all potential parameters. So I guess I still don't know what I was saying from before Zara tried to bite me. There's something going on. She tried to bite me. Now I'm getting foggy. Saying, okay, what I was saying is at least we're doing all the right things in this life, using all the tools that are here to get ourselves into a position. So no matter what if any of this bad news even exists, then we're ready for it either way. No matter what it throws at us, we'll be ready for it. No matter what parameter it throws at us. Plus, we'll also spend the rest of our lives understanding that potentially what we expect to get is what will happen. The end of the Wizard of Oz is, in my opinion, it's the biggest truth drop of all time in any form of media. It just screams that it is to me, and maybe your inner knowing agrees, where she didn't have to go through any of that stuff all along. Just click your heels 3 times and you're back where you want to be. Back into a 3D body, Matt, that's not too good. I'm not going there. But just the point, the basic truth drop is it was always in her power. Okay, that's the point. It was always in her power. And there's no they don't say definitively in The Wizard of Oz that she needed the ruby slippers either. Just said click your heels 3 times. There's no place like home. Imagine it, picture it. It was always up to you. So she should have turned to before I click my heels 3 times. Glenda, was it Glenda that came in? Yeah, Glenda came back then. I've got a little beef to pick with you, Glenda. So we didn't have to go through all this bullshit, run around, approach Oz, get terrified by this wizard at the first time we were there, is pulling his strings and all this crap. Then we had to go risk our lives taking down a witch, all this shit, this horse shit. We didn't have to do. It was always up to, I guess Glenda should be like, well, it ain't. You should have known your own power. Why are you looking at me? So Glenda has a right to come back just as strong at Dorothy. So yeah, well, you did the work, and then I kind of helped you out at the end. But why didn't you? You should have realized your own power, Dorothy, bitch. So I guess the point is it's a gigantic truth drop. And we were talking about, I say we a lot, like I'll present the topic and then I'll read your comments. So I'll just say it as we, not me and my Britney Spears multiple personalities didn't present the last video, talking about the multiple layers of conspiracy, the multiple layers of how everything is presented here. And that goes right along with, Vanessa VA will talk about the multiple layers of truth that come out of songs. She's been highlighting songs. And when multiple layers of truth comes out of songs, there's, I was thinking, what artists were aware of it? Are any artists aware of it? Now I'm very convinced almost no artist is aware of it. It flows through the song, throws through the art like a carrier wave, and the truth is only there for those of us that are vibrating at a certain frequency or resonance. That's why we can take something away from the song, and the guy down the cul-de-sac or Aunt Judy thinks it's just some stupid love song. But talking about the triple meaning, you could take it back to, or everything in this reality. It's not just the way the conspiracy is presented. You can take almost everything as a triple meaning depending on where you are, where you've put yourself from a frequency perspective. But it goes back to, is it L. Frank Baum? The system loves to use that where it's just an initial, like, is it The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald? It's confused the shit out of me. So you want to say, is your name Scott or F? I don't understand that. Why put the first initial first? Like, what is the point of that? But it's like L. Frank Baum, But the triple conspiracy comes with, and I chased this like for weeks, about the Wizard of Oz is actually, Matt, people would say it's a message that L. Frank Baum was very worried about the fiat monetary system. And don't you know, Matt, the original slippers were silver. And L. Frank Baum, really wanted a monetary system, was making a statement, Matt, based on hard currency and not just fiat. And you get into Oz and it's green and all this stuff, and the Pink Floyd doing the song "Money." Money begins just as she opens the door, and they're connected. Don't you know that, Matt? Um, Everybody's innocent in here. Don't you know that? I mean, so you can, it's all, the layers are there for whatever. Aunt Ginny's just going to see a dumb movie. Somebody investigates this conspiracy, the event horizon reality will show them whatever is suited to their frequency. Oh, it's about money. But I think at the highest frequency, where we're getting close, we're not there yet, but we're certainly doing better than the reverse Pinocchios. I mean, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good. We have more to do. But the ultimate level is, it's not, that's a distraction. It's not about a statement about the fiat currency. It has to be backed by hard metals like silver. And come on, it's bull. At the end, it's simply, and maybe, but here's the thing. Maybe Frank Baum actually wanted that. But the message that we can take away, there's another carrier wave in the art that he put there without even knowing it, potentially. I'm really convinced that's how this works. Or the system itself could have put it in there, because the system, it's how they have to do business. The system itself has to litter its art, and whatever it comes from it has to litter it with truth. And that's not a bad word, litter, with a bad connotation with something good, but you know what I mean. Sprinkle it in. It has to sprinkle it in for their sick magic to work. So L. Frank Baum maybe was talking about, I'm saying the ultimate truth is the power we have inside of us. It's just realizing it. I'll cover as soon as I can, and I want to talk about the Interface series, because I said I'd cover it by now, guys. But if you watch episodes 1 through 23 of the Interface series, and you don't need to, just watch episode 23, which is 2 divided by 3 is 666. You'll see why I'm not ready to cover it yet. It is, for the most part, it is impossible to figure out overall. Not impossible, but it's almost impossible. You can take certain concepts and truths out of it, in my opinion, whether the person that put that animation together was aware of it or not. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Interface, because if you've watched 4 or 5 episodes, you'll see it and say, yeah, I can see why this needs more time. It is absolutely bizarre, but you just sniff, as truth seekers, when we can turn around and there's matrix code there, there's truth in that. It screams out that there's truth in that. But related to Interface, what I was talking about with the Wizard of Oz, even in one part, it is episode 23, where it is like an architect figure from the Matrix. He's saying to this Henrik character, there's this human man that wears, well, forget. I'll talk about it's the Son of Man painting, and I'll talk about that when I cover Interface. He doesn't say a word. The main character in Interface doesn't say a word through 23 episodes, but it's like the architect in the Matrix says, to Henrik, you do have the answers. You just look, they're within you. You need to look within yourself. Dorothy, you always had the power. It's just about realizing it. As Tony would say, not Tony, who's probably rented the movie twice and is running around looking for his booster, who probably won't be in my presence unless I'm doubled up, double masked. doubled up mast probably won't be around me anymore. I'm talking about the Tony that has a real insight into things. Would say that you could get yourself, you do the right work where you connected to the spiritual aspect of you that's not here, um, just can realize, come to realization, you have the power to just walk out of here. Um, where, oh, whatever trick or Saturn Moon Matrix, or you know you get to the point, by my heel I care not. There's just nothing will work. You've seen it. You don't need to do this again. You're the guy, the young guy who was really like 120 years old or whatever, from the Justin Timberlake movie In Time, where I guess Justin Timberlake just is tired or he passes out or something, and they swapped the currency of that world is time, and they have it in their wrist. It shows how much time they have left, and most people in the reality just have like 2 weeks left to live. It counts down. So then they go to work and can work. The paycheck is the time. If they go to buy bread, they have to give up 20 minutes of time. Everything's about the time. It's very interesting. It's a truth drop in and of itself. Because money is the 3D materialistic plane's hard form of energy, but it also is also direct correlation to time. So I guess Justin Timberlake passes out. The old guy who's looks like a 28-year-old guy or whatever. He just goes to Justin Timberlake, and I guess you touch wrist to wrist or something, and all the time goes into him. So he wakes up. He's got like 100 years left. The rich class, the upper class in that movie, they control everything about the currency of time, and they all have hundreds and hundreds of years on them, and some have thousands. The upper class, or the those that stand, at least I was going to say not stand behind the screen here, but stand next to the screen, that are above presidents and prime ministers. I mean, the group, I don't like to use their names anymore here, but you know what I mean. Um, you know, Whatever. They in the movie, that group has thousands and thousands of years, I think, on their wrist. And this guy who has 100 and some years, he's not in that complete upper class, but he's in the wealthy class. He gives all his time to Justin Timberlake, and then he just goes and sits on a bridge and looks for. And I'll get to the point in a moment. It just counts down, and the time on his wrist goes to zero, and he just. I haven't seen it for years. I think he just falls off dead. Um, but the point is, getting you. I think one of the key things to do in this life is to get yourself in the frame of mind of that guy who gave away all his time. He didn't. He just done enough. He doesn't. If you asked him, he would say, "I don't need to see anymore. I don't need to do anymore. I've done all I can here. I've done all I need to do here." See, that's the if that's maybe where these potential tricks of life review and things come back. And again, I don't know. I don't have any experience in that. I don't have any after near death experiences or DMT trick. DMT trips, but I can tell you it just screams out as a huge truth that you might not get out of here until you really come to the realization that you don't want any more of this. There's no attachments. There's no, you just don't covet anything here anymore. You've been here, done that, and I've done enough. The 3D existence, whether I've done it before or whatever, I guess we'll really never really know when we're in this avatar, but I don't want to do it again. I'm done with that. And I've learned my lessons communicating you here with the aspect of you that's not here. So the guy that gave his time to Justin Timberlake, if somebody would have run up to him, one of the elite class, and said, I want to give you thousands of years, he would have said, I don't want it. I don't want it. We could get to the point, we're getting there now, where somebody could run up to us and said, "Oh, do you want? I can give you land in the south of France, and I can give you." You just get to the point in terms of getting yourself ready to walk out of here on the day of your death or the day of your life. It just doesn't appeal in any way to you. None of the trappings of this world appeal in any way. And I did want to mention this a few times. I don't know how you guys would take it, but it's so relevant to what I'm talking about now. I'll just mention it. I call little Fifi Addy, I call BDC, Billion Dollar Cat. And I mean, where is she now? Hiding under something? Bootsy's starting to beat her up a little bit, but it's not so bad. I mean, she's just a fearful, but she actually runs Zara from time to time. It's anyway, whatever. She does usually hide out. She's not coming out as much because of Puss and Boots and other cat activities. So she's usually by herself. And put it this way, we've had a lot of issues with her since I adopted her just over 2 years ago, I guess it was. But I call her BDC, Billion Dollar Cat, because I am thoroughly convinced, and some people might say, Matt, you're deluding yourself, but I don't believe so. I really don't believe so. If somebody came to my door and said, I will give you $1 billion for that cat, I wouldn't take it. I wouldn't be tempted at all to take it. I really believe that. Somebody might be yelling at me, say, Matt, wait till it happens and then see what. I swear to you, I don't believe in any way I would take it. With one proviso. Here it comes. No, you see, here's where I'm going. If I could use the $1 billion to change the world, to help people, to rescue thousands and thousands and thousands of other cats, of course I would need the good of the many over the, help change the world. But the proviso would be that the dark figure that would knock on my door, like the old guy that came down in Poltergeist 2, the old guy that's just raining on him. He's like, "Hi, little girl," like, "Mommy," he knocks on my door, but he would say, we're going to give you $1 billion. We're going to take the cat, but you can't use it to help other cats or help people, but you can do anything else you want with the money. You can buy, again, beach homes on the south of France. You can buy a Learjet and all sorts of sports cars, and then you'll be hobnobbing with Mike Tyson, and Leo DiCaprio will call you. I mean, if it was only, again, I would have to take it if I could do good with it. But if it was that, I'm telling you, and I think a lot of you, we need money to live and everything, but a lot of you, I think, would be saying the same thing. I think if there's something you care about, an animal or somebody's probably yelling at me. I don't even have an animal or kids, Matt. If somebody knocked on the door and said, I'll take $1 billion, I wouldn't even take it. Many of you are even saying that if I couldn't do any good with it. Because somebody would be like, I have what I need. I don't need it. That would just pull me closer to the matrix. That would come with strings. No doubt about it. So I'm at the point where I wouldn't take $1 billion for Fifi Addy. But is that the next layer that just hit me? Without Fifi Addy here, if somebody still offered $1 billion, would I turn it down? That's maybe the next layer. And I thought I was doing so great because I wouldn't give the cat up because of that. And but that's not going far enough, is it? Because if you take the money, you're going to be able to take the money and not have any ties to the matrix at all, not have any extra tethers or Jacob Marley change. You're going to have to, again, if you could use it for good, I mean, could you assuming they couldn't come up and get in my business and couldn't, like sent, what was it, in Caddyshack, Rodney Dangerfield, he had those two thugs, Rocco and, Bruno and Rocco. They're going to send Bruno and Rocco on me if I start doing good with the money, assuming I had some sort of pass where they just couldn't touch my decision making in terms of what I would do with that movie, but what I could do with that money. Could you imagine the complete wrecking ball you could be or I could be with that kind of money? Immediately start billboard campaigns all over, run, just you could do so much, but you would never be allowed to do any good with it, of course. And if you push too hard into their realm, into their area, then they would come back with what were the thugs' names? Rocco and Bruno or something. Didn't he sick them on Judge Smales at the end? Yeah, Judge Smales, I guess, owed him money. Or Rodney thought he owed him money because of the golf tournament. He had these guys chase a circuit court judge across the golf course. But anyway, guys, so we have more work to do. I just realized right now, again, I'm so proud of myself because of the cat and the $1 billion. And then it just hit me. It's like, that's not even that far. It's not far enough. Matt, you have to be willing to, somebody knocks on your door, the guy from Poltergeist, with, that rains just on him and wants to give you $1 billion, that you don't even take it, assuming you can still put food on the table and you have enough to live, etc., etc. And that's exactly right, actually, to get yourself in that state. But the point of me talking about all this was, remember the guy in the movie In Time, I think it's called. He could have been given 1,000 years. He's like, he didn't say it, but the attitude. It's the attitude we all have to adopt. I've done everything I need to do. Well, having a little bucket list thing, guys. Like I said, I wanted to go see the pyramids. That's fine. That's not going to draw me back to another body or life or some sort of samsara trap, or because, oh, you didn't complete your bucket list. That would be nice, but that doesn't matter. That's not going to draw me back into the video game if you have a few things on the bucket list. I don't think you have to get rid of a few things on the bucket list to be able to be in a perfect state of mind to to walk out of here when the time comes. Just like the guy on the bridge, he didn't want any more time, and that's one of the key things to work at. I think Tony would agree that, communicating with the part of you that's not here or stuck in the snow globe. And at first, again, I mentioned this, it seemed to me when he first started communicating with me, like that part of you has all the answers, all the power. But he would say, no, it needs you. It needs you to come to certain realizations here so you can put feedback back to it that we don't need to do this anymore. We're walking out. There's no money, no nothing that I covet anymore. The Francis Dunnery I've talked about. That's Puss. Francis Dunnery. We adopted Puss in Boots. The famous. I guess it's like a German legend. Puss in Boots, old German legend, I think. But Francis Dunnery is a very interesting musician, and never went under the dragon's wing. You get that sense. They tried to put him under the dragon's wing 25 years ago, and some of his early stuff is poppy, and he has long hair and trying to have the image of a rocker. You can see he just never got that close to it, and then he just started doing his own thing away from the record labels. But remember the one of the key songs. I'll link to it. Off the Hometown album, not the pop version, the dance version, because the only thing you get to keep is what you give away. I've played it. I don't think I can play anything like that anymore. I'll play a snippet on Free Voice sometime. Because the only thing you get to keep is what you give away. What could be? You don't get to keep anything here, and you take all the goodwill. All Levette would agree with this. The only thing you get to keep is what you give away. And it doesn't mean we have to, guys. First and foremost, we don't have to do huge philanthropy. Nobody, we don't have the means to do that. It's just little niceties, helping who we can help when they need help, and working on ourselves. I mean, that's the best we can do. And I'm much more of the belief now that talked about, on one hand, do we need to use this place to like more of the new agey videos or YouTube channels to ascend, to walk into 4D and 5D, to become an ascended being, or to rise up. And I guess well, I don't know enough about Buddhism to make the statement, so I'll let that go. But on the other hand, it was, is the circumstances of what we're in, the severity of this 3D plane of existence so severe that our goal here is to hold on to ourselves. We are the real boy, Pinocchio. We don't want to, like everybody else around us, we don't want to do a reverse Pinocchio and become wood, or become the real person and then become Data, the android. And I'm much more, like I hinted months ago, I'm much more on this side, that our role here is to hold on to the essence. Not that we have to accomplish all this stuff, ascend and all this stuff. If you can use the tools that are here to do that sort of thing, that's wonderful. But I don't think that is the purpose of this life. It's too severe. it's the amount of deception, tricks, the ability for it to get people to doom and damn themselves. Everything is a lie. I mean, you want to talk about severity, the ability for walk out into the world, and at every turn there's an opportunity to make the wrong choice, to give a piece of yourself away, to merge with the wrong thing, or to merge with the cell phone. No, I'll never. Well, I don't want to say never, but I just can't see moving off this. You can have your own philosophy, of course, but mine is just to remember who I am. That's what this like to hold on to. Okay, there's a spiritual part of me that's not here. To hold on to it, to get ready to walk out of here. Not that I'm going to walk in, become some being of light, or I'm become a bodhisattva in this existence. No, it's just like Braveheart. The Robert the Bruce's father in Braveheart was he became the leper, I guess, and you just saw him with his face wrapped up, and he says, something like, you're trying to do all this stuff, and you're going to work with William Wallace, and you have all these grandiose plans for Scotland. He says, no, King Edward the Longshanks is the most ruthless king ever to sit on the throne. It's time to survive, to not to charge across no man's land, but to make sure your own fortifications are dug in. I'm much more there. We have King Longshanks, the whatever, the smelly, here times a billion. You know, Robert the Bruce. My our forefathers granted you land and title so you would not go rushing in. It's more and not about land and title, but just the land and title that represents your own spiritual essence or existence. It's time to survive, okay, to hold on. If it's a climb up a mountain, it's no, you know what? I don't think I need this existence to climb to the top of the mountain. I can do a whole lot on this ledge here, and I'm going to dig in my fortifications here, because it's not just about me on this ledge. There's a storm coming to blow me off. There's little creatures trying to pull me down. I'm going to dig in my fortifications here on this ledge. And if I can, if I feel I can safely climb, I'll climb whenever I can. But at least right now, at least while we're going through this period, from the Braveheart, the term "it's time to survive" is it's time to do everything you can to hold on to stay on the bank, to stay rooted into to the reality that wants to sail down the river of insanity on the ship of fools, to remember who you are, to remember that this incarnation is just a blink of a blink of a blink of a blink of a blink. It's a nothing. It's going in and out of the closet for a half second. And to remember things like the only thing you get to keep is what you give away, and getting in the mental frame of mind, like the guy that gave all his time away, Justin Timberlake, woke up in the morning, had like hundreds of years or whatever on his arm, that just like, nothing anybody could offer me. I've done with this. I'm done with this. That is absolutely the mindset. And when you're completely done with it, who can touch you? What trick can touch you? Don't you, you didn't get that Ferrari, you didn't get that girl, all the attachments or anything. I'm done with it. I might someday choose a 3D incarnation or something like it. It won't be here. It'll be of my own choosing. I'm done with this. I'm done with this. Complete. And I don't think you truly put yourself in that mindset and frequency. I truly believe they can't touch you now or in death. Doesn't want you in that frequency, does it? Always going to throw another carrot out. Always going to get. And we don't. There's not as many carrots that we'll chase because of what we do, but carrots in terms of a material pleasure or a status. But it throws the endless conspiracy at us artificially. All the things to chase. All the endless conspiracy and rabbit holes, and I mean, it includes the architecture. That's all part of this matrix realm. It will throw everything at us, so we chase it. So we're paying attention to that. Oh, if I could just figure out that, it keeps you away from yourself. It's so simple. Doesn't mean we have to. People have commented recently, and I agree with where they're coming from. It doesn't mean we have to abandon that. Was it Austin that said that I saved him a lot of time? Like he would have chased these rabbit holes and these endless conspiracies for years and years and years. And I think he said, and this is exactly the way to do it. I think he said, "Well, I still look at some of this stuff. Like I'm still interested in this conspiracy, whether it be Bigfoot or the architecture or the all the weird rituals that and what Jimmy Page were into, or what the writings of Madame Blavatsky, whatever your thing is." I think he was kind of saying, "I still look at it, but I have a different mindset now. I don't need to figure it out. I understand that's part of what this matrix does. It will always throw another conspiracy. It's artificial. It gives itself away. Its artificial nature is given away by the endless conspiracy. Even the fact that I'm talking about each thing presented can be 3 layers. What kind of real world could pull that off? No real world could pull that off. You could still do it. Just have the right mindset in doing it. Oh, I'm going to investigate this, and do I need to know what's going on? No. Is it going to affect in any way or be contingent upon me understanding this for me to find out about myself? No, but you can still do it. Just have the right mindset in doing it. And even in the past, let's another bang event. Let's investigate this. See if we really get them to make big mistakes. See, then we can show that to everybody around us. So then they'll wake up, and eventually we can get groups together to go take them all to jail, into prison. That's just the trick, a trick of the reality. That someday we're going to get enough evidence where we'll be able to take them all to prison. The whole Q thing, that's just, honestly, you don't see the tricks of the reality at this point, that would be part of the same trick, getting you worried, focused outside yourself, worry about yourself, focused on these things and that thing, and eventually take them all to jail. That's 101. That's blocking and tackling for how this place does business. Again, if you're going to look at any of it, just do it with the right mindset. Like a hobby. It's fine to do that. And notice when it wants you to chase. Oh, what's coming up now? Uh-oh, a whole hybrid conspiracy will split off. Whole hybrid conspiracy will split off and just come out of the blue. Oh, what could a normal world can do this? Well, where was that 5 years ago? It'll come when it comes. Just if you're researching this, just notice it. Oh, isn't this coming out of the woodwork? It probably wants me to chase it. You know what? I might look at it. I'm not going to chase it. I'm not going to forget who I am or ever remember or try to be convinced or fooled into thinking that some answers that I need are out there. No, no. So, guys, thanks for watching. And I guess I'll do one more segment or listening. I was going to say, but this is pretty important. I'm still looking at the series called Interface, which, again, it's just, and somebody might say, Matt, why do you spending so much time on it? It just could be some guy that just did animation. He doesn't have any connections. He's never been served crimpets by Jared. He's never been in any Eyes Wide Shut parties. Just this guy makes some cool animation. Well, the point is, I hear where you're going there. It doesn't, someone might say, if you don't know that he's connected with the system, and we know the system through its art and its movies has to deliver truth in many instances, if you don't know his background, like if a Steven Spielberg thing, you might say, okay, we, connected in many ways to some creepy things. Truth has to be shown for those willing to pay attention to it. It's like that. You don't know this guy, so why bother? See, I'm a total believer in what Vanessa VA talks about in terms of the music. Now, I really am. I'm close to 100% on this. Where any creator of art, movies, music, cartoon, whatever, the art can be writing of a book. The art can be created, and it's almost like a channeling, the best way. Like, remember the woman that gave the Seth stuff? I didn't look into this too much. It's neither here nor there whether you're a big Seth fan or believer in it. It doesn't really matter. But you could say, it didn't matter what her background was. She was simply channeling Seth, whatever Seth was. Like, I'm not expert on this, the Seth papers or whatever. Her background was irrelevant. And this happens with art and music, poetry, all the time. And I experienced it myself when writing it's people get confused and think my book called Quantum of Conscience is like the conspiracy book. The conspiracy book I can only send via PDF to people. Never be hosted anywhere. I wrote I don't know, it was like 7 years ago or something, or six years ago. I wrote Quantum of Conscious. It's just a fun fiction book about kids at the University of Vienna that get involved in lucid dream experiments, leads to some time travel, things like. But it's all fun. It's just kids at the university. And um, well, I was going to say something else, but I don't know if you can mention it. What's on the cover of that book anymore. You get the video banned. There's that. It's remember the boys from Brazil? It's is it the not the boys from Brazil? Is it just called Brazil? What's the one where they create little clones of little baby Adolf? Is it just called Brazil or the boys from Brazil? I don't know. There's a they're blank hunters of they all went to South America, remember? And then there were these guys that were called blank hunters. There's that part that's in the book. That's why that symbol is on the cover of the book. But the point, guys, is when I was writing it and I'm getting into how do I make time travel believable, and the time travel only comes in at the very end of the book. It's more about lucid dreaming. There's some things that kind of came to me, like there's a whole segment in the book about how time doesn't exist. And when I know that's like commonplace now, how everybody talks about that. But when I wrote this, or when I started writing, I guess about 8 years ago, it wasn't that commonplace. It really wasn't. Are you saying that you came up? I'm not saying I came up with it. Of course not. It was a big part of the time travel where it just kind of came to me, and not to just make the book work. It just kind of came to me that time doesn't exist. And then and I've written many times now about all the ways you can prove it doesn't exist. I'll do how no moment can be isolated unless you look at it or back up your VCR, or back up a DVD and pause it, or back up your DVR. I guess I meant to say a VCR. That's 1980. If you back up your DVR and watch the last second shot, well, there's your isolated moment. But there's no way to isolate the moment as it's happening. So I wrote about these things, and it was like, I guess, guys, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. It was like a channeling, or things kind of came up. I was using the record player analogy that all the time, everything's just there on top of each other. What you experience is just where you drop the record needle. It's all there's no first song or second song or third song. You experience wherever the needle's dropped. It's all there. It's all laid down already there. It's just the needle of consciousness. And then what was the movie that I see the movie Synchronic. I'm watching Synchronic the other day, and the guy's explaining time using my record player analogy from the. I'm not saying they stole it from me, guys, or whatever, but I wrote that a huge part of the book, Quantum of Conscious, has the record player analogy about how it's all the events are laid down. Time only is perception based on where you drop the needle of consciousness. And I'm watching Synchronic, and he's like, "Yeah, it's like a record." He pulls out an old vinyl. I'm like, "I wrote about that." Anyway, so it was like channeling to me. So it relates back to interface. I don't think it's important to know the background of this guy. It's so deep, interface. The thinking is so outside the box. In other words, I feel I can pull truth out of it, and I think you could. Anybody in a certain frame of mind could pull certain truths out of it, and he doesn't have to be aware of it. I'm saying a he, maybe it's a she. Sorry, I don't know, but I'll just say it's he. He doesn't even have to be aware of the truth. It could be there, like when Vanessa VA talks about a song, and it sounds like a love song, but if you can see, well, no, this is. It was the one that really stuck out for me was Jason Mraz. I think it was You and I Both. She'll present some songs, and I'll listen. And I'll go, I don't have any feeling on that. It doesn't do anything at all for me. And she'd be the first to say, well, every song isn't going to resonate with each person. It's just everybody's different. Everybody's a little bit different frequency. And she put on the You and I Both. Well, that's a conversation between higher self and this aspect of our incarnation. It really was profound for me, and maybe one or two others. And there's and again, it's just in no real world could pull this off. There's triple meaning, quadruple meaning in a lot of this stuff. She presented father figure from George Michael as like almost like a higher self to your spiritual aspect of what you are in this snow globe incarnation. And there's that level. There's the George Michael level presented in the video for Aunt Ginny and the guy down the cul-de-sac. And then somebody chimed in and he's like, don't go there, Matt. You know what these sickos are into. Put your tiny hand in mine. That's a you know what drop. That's a comet, ping pong issue. So it's like, whoa, I've never thought about that. But I think the meanings of these things, I think there can be three or four meanings that are completely valid to the person watching at their level or their frequency or whoever they are, old soul, new soul, whatever. And art does that. Movies, books, music. So when I'm going to try to pull the truth out of interface, what it means to me, and to sum it up, I don't think it's important the background of this guy or Matt, he couldn't know anything because he just came from this background. Then I believe he can channel it. It's so big thinking, it's so profound. He doesn't have to be even aware of it. And he could have, see, the incredible thing about this, and I do believe this is real, I could say, this is the truth I'm pulling out of it. And then I could run in, or he could see I did that, and he could email me and say, that's not the meaning of it. Here's exactly what I meant. You're getting it all wrong. And I'm saying I still could be right, if you see what I'm saying. He could, yeah, that's what you meant, but when this musician created this song, this is what I get out of it. I don't think the musician was even aware of it. And I know it's hard for me to describe, and I'm not doing a good job describing it. And if you watch Vanessa VA stuff, or Vanessa VA would be like, yeah, that's how it works. Anyway, and I think it can happen in all art, and we're just seeing this over and over. So if I was kind of in the middle, say a year ago, where if I'm going to pull truth out of a piece of art, where do I think the artist needed to know about it, or the creeps that put together the Eyes Wide Shut parties need to put it out there because they have to drop truth? I would have kind of been in the middle, but now I'm way down the other scale, where all sorts of any type of art that I pull truth out of, not only is the artist doesn't even need to be involved, or they don't even know most of the time. I really believe that, like a channeling, and it might not, that truth might not be there at all for the artist. But if we see it, then we see it. It's just one of the incredible things about how this reality works, and there's such negative to this place, so many things working against us, so many things trying to take pieces of us or doom us, that in the one or few areas where we really have, positives working for us. And I'm not going to go as far as, Matt, does that mean you believe there's white hats here and white hat aliens and people helping? I don't go there. No, we're here to help ourselves. But it could be how the whole reality was structured to begin with, where creeps, okay, creeps, let's insert the creeps here. You're going to play a role here, and you're going to screw a lot of people. But you know what? In the moves you make, and the more you make bigger moves, it's these people over here are going to actually benefit from your creepy crap, your creepy horse shit. They're going to benefit, and you can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. The more you do, the more they will see, or at least those that are ready to see or want to see. And whoever designed the reality at the structural root level, the code beyond beyond the code, that it's just like the laws of physics for us. Like you drop something, it'll drop. So the creeps are like, we're not going to be able to do something big without these people seeing. That's just part of the deal. Yeah, creeps, that's part of the deal. And they're going to keep trying different things, and they're going to create CERN. Well, what if we create a gigantic thing under two countries that smashes particles, and we could try to shift the entire reality, also using the 7-Eleven job application. We could try to shift the reality outside of its normal course. That's a good idea, Jared. Let's try it. Does it? Yeah, they're trying everything they can, but it's not stopping us from seeing what we need to see to benefit yourself. It's that simple. If you back up far enough, the news couldn't be any better. It's pretty crappy if your whole world is about this existence. If it's not, the news is great. Couldn't be any better. If this is any sort of trap or whatever, you can sense that somebody that passed in the 1700s or 1800s or 1600s or William Wallace or whatever, they didn't even think this way. They were, if there's any sort of a recycling trap, we're sensing now we have way better chance to beat it. Or Matt, don't forget what you said. Just click your, you know it's within your power to just click your heels, and you don't even have to click your heels. You've just beaten it. Why? Because you just declared it. You've realized the situation. You're just going to step out of it. It's pretty much that simple, guys. That's why their tricks are so pathetic. The tricks are surrounding us all the time in this IMAX, and now Joe Biden, Joey B of the dueling banjos, saying that it's your choice. You'll either rent the movie or you're going to have to wear this forever. It's, oh, then we get involved with that and we send that around to our family. It's just like, it just tries to suck us in at every turn. The answer, again, is, remember, it's a half page. Anybody that would ever try to make it more complicated isn't serving us or you. The answer literally is a half page. And if you're ready to graduate, graduate. Remember, just like any high school, there's people coming up that people think that the next fake event, they need to spend all day researching that. There's people coming up through the high school, and I'm going to try to serve them the best I can. If you're ready to graduate, I'd hate to lose you. I'm going to do a lot of really cool things over at Free Voice, and I will try to throw in some some comedy from time to time. Keep it fun. I don't want to lose you, but again, the ultimate is we need to get ourselves ready to graduate, and we're getting close. Thanks, guys.